You've learned how to filter search results, but Splunk search language can do more than just filter. It actually allows you to run some commands against your search results. This is done with the pipe character. That looks like this. For example, let's limit our search to just our access log. So source, type, access combined, and then pipe, and the command top. Here we can see Splunk shows some context-sensitive help, and we're actually going to say the top client IP. And let's search for that. You can see it switched to the statistics tab now, and it shows us the top 10 client IPs. What if we wanted the top 100? We could delete client IP here and look at our suggestions. Here's one for if we had a field called signature. So we'll say top limit equals 100 client IP. And that'll give us several pages of results. Even a simple command like top has a lot of possible parameters, so it's a good idea to consult the documentation to see what's possible when using it. Before we move on, let's refine our search a bit. First, make sure you're in verbose mode, and then select the Events tab. Scroll down to the interesting fields and select URI. Here we can see the top values for what URI people are trying to reach. And let's filter down just to our return policy page. We can just click on that. As you can see, it has updated our query, but kept the top command the same at the end. As you're working with commands, you'll often want to adjust the base query in this way to refine the final results. Commands can do more than just show the top results. Let's clear this query and change it to looking at the Linux secure log. And we'll search again. With the command rex, R-E-X, you can use regular expressions to define new fields on the fly. To understand how this works, let's try to recreate the client IP field. If we look at our default search results for Linux Secure, you'll see that there's nothing to track the IP. Part of the reason for that is that the events in the secure log are not in a consistent format, so Splunk doesn't really know how to extract the IP address. With rex, we can use a regular expression to match the IP in the log. So let's start building our regular expression. If you aren't familiar with regular expressions, I'd recommend looking at the courses available in the LinkedIn Learning library. Regular expressions allow you to really precisely narrow down a text search, and knowing them well can make life a lot easier even for non-engineers. I'll describe what's happening as I go through it. So first we have the syntax for running the rex command. That's pipe rex, and then we say field equals underscore raw. The underscore raw is saying that the source for our rex field is the raw event. So it's the full text as it came from the log file. Next, after space, we put in quotes our regular expression. The first thing we need is called a capture group. We do that by saying parentheses, question mark, and then in angle brackets, we'll say client IP. So we put the label that we want to use for our field here at the beginning of the capture group. The next thing we do is define the pattern that we're trying to match. In this case, it's an IP address. And actually, Splunk has a built-in default for that. If you use double square brackets and just say IPv4, that will match a regular IPv4 address. And then we need our closing parentheses. So now if we run our search, you can see we've got our client IP. So that gives us the client IP for the secure log, but we need to add the other log in here now. So we can say or source type access combined, and we need to keep that pipe. And we'll search again. Now we can see results from both of the logs mixed together, and it's still able to detect the client IP. Let's click on client IP in the interesting fields and select the top result. What you might notice here is that it actually appends another command to the end of our search rather than adding the client IP filter here. The reason for this is at the beginning of the search query, client IP doesn't exist for Linux Secure. It's only created inline by the rex command. So the way we're able to filter for it is we have to have another search query right at the end of our search. As you can see when I type the pipe, there are many commands that are available. I'd recommend looking at a cheat sheet style reference guide that the makers of Splunk publish. The easiest way to find it is to just search for Splunk Quick Reference Guide in a search engine, and you should find a link to the PDF. You can also click Learn More, and that will redirect you to the documentation.